It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
That's caught! Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score! He would not be denied!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Sponsored by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Kyle Ireland. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Not going to lie, Cougar Nation, seeing all this player movement and transfer portal activity and seeing BYU football get its staff put together, it's got me hyped for BYU football season. Only 238 days away until BYU takes on Utah Tech. Who's counting? September 5th, the Cougs will kick off the season. Of course, all the action can be heard here on KSL News Radio. We've been talking about it this hour, all the retention for BYU football, and, of course, Kelly Papinga being the new defensive coordinator. I want to dive into the names a little bit further in the players that are running it back. So we talked about Bear Bachmeier, L.J. Martin, Isaiah Glasker, Falatau Satawala. How about the leading wide receiver, Parker Kingston? He's coming back. That's big time. Who would have thought Parker a year ago would become wide receiver 1, but that's what he was in 2025 for a team that was knocking on the doorstep of the college football playoff. Keanu Tanavasa, remember last year at this time he was on this show and said he kind of mentally envisioned 2025 being a one and done at BYU and then going off to the NFL. He's coming back. Cornerback Trey Alexander, man, he's become a fan favorite. I just knew when Therian Alexander committed to BYU and he was just hyping people up on as a recruit about coming to BYU, I knew he would become a fan favorite, and he's done that. He's been kind of one of the ringleaders of making sure everyone's coming back for this BYU football team. Edge rusher and linebacker Nusi Taumoi-Peau, the foot that forced a fumble against Georgia Tech, that foot's coming back, and he's going to be a big-time player. Nusi will be elite. At some point in his BYU career, he's going to be an all-Big 12 guy. Raider DeMooney, Cialia Serra, Andrew Gentry, Bodie Schoonover, Anisi Purcell, Bruce Mitchell, first-team all-Big 12 center. He's running it back. Kyle Safarichok, Sonny Makassini, Vili Ami Puha, Jovesa DeMooney, a standout in the Pop-Tarts Bowl win. Viliami Bahua, Te Nakua, Noah Moiaki, and Tommy Parasis. That is a list of big-time players for BYU, 12 of which were starters in the Big 12 championship game. This team feels loaded for 2026, Kyle.
There's a name missing from this list, Mitch, and Therian Alexander III needs to get Evan Johnson back, and then this list will be complete. Because if Evan comes back, that secondary is going to be mean. They're going to be, obviously they're losing Tanner Wall, but I love the safety group of Falatau and Raider DeMooney. Having Trey on one side, having Evan on the other, that'd be awesome. Interested to see if Jonathan Cabea could have a better year. Obviously, he dealt with injury this past season.
Redshirt this past season.
And so I'm interested to see how he looks in 2026 now that Tavion Beasley's transferred away from BYU. I do think, though, the main guys, with the exception of Evan, are in this list. And that is outstanding because that shows that we haven't talked about this yet, but you're adding the tight end in Walker Lyons from USC, older brother to
big time addition.
Ryder Lyons, quarterback signee for BYU, and then wide receiver out of Oregon, Kyler Casper. BYU is adding guys, and the guys that they have lost in the portal have not been the main guys, these starters, these, star players, so to speak, that BYU had this past season. You're going to have some guys that you're going to miss next year. The Jack Kellys, the Tanner Walls, the Chase Roberts. You're going to miss those guys. But with those departures, there's some oxygen in the room that can be sucked up by these other guys. Parker Kingston's a prime example of that, where he was able to elevate his game in 2025. What guys on this list can continue to do that? I'm fascinated because you look at even guys like Isaiah Glasker and Keanu Tanavasa, who we thought might be going off to the NFL after this past season. Those guys didn't have the seasons that I think they wanted. That would have impressed the NFL scouts to the level that they were hoping after the 2024 campaigns that each of them had. I think that having a little bit of that chip on their shoulder And granted, like BYU fans wish they would have been in the playoff each of the last 2 years. But I think that having the adversity of the way that things played out, and really I think the way that the Pop-Tart Bowl went as well, Mitch, does play into some momentum into 2026, that they were down LJ Martin. They were, struggling to come back in that game, and they found a way to win. There's just so much that shows that this culture and these guys coming back, like there is upward trajectory, upward momentum for this team, and BYU fans should be super excited about these guys coming back.
What's impressive, too, is that BYU's only had 10 players into the portal. The portal is only open for another 6 more days. Mm-hmm. And the 10 losses to the portal, not going to lie, Kyle, I mean, I don't want to act like any loss is just not significant, but, once a Cougar, always a Cougar, sure, as Kalani has said. But you go through the list of 10 guys that have entered the portal from BYU. Dominique McKenzie, wide receiver. He's going to San Jose State. Jake Griffin, offensive tackle. He's getting power 4 interest. He's got great size, 6'5", 305, offensive tackle. He was in the 2 deep for BYU. I think it was just kind of a case of you're probably going to be a little bit squeezed out when you consider Andrew Gentry's coming back. You've got Andrew Williams, Ethan Thomason, and then Bot Molitalo. That's your 4. I would say is probably your top 4. Griffin kind of gets maybe that 5th spot. So he's like, okay, I'm going to look around to see what my options are. Makes all the sense in the world. Marcus McKenzie, cornerback. I think he could have been really good. I remember Jay Hill was high on him in 2023.
Loved him on special teams, too.
Fantastic, but injuries galore. He goes to Utah State. I think he'll tear it up there. But he didn't play. McKay Hillstead, backup quarterback for the Cougs. He's going back to Utah State. I think McKay's still got juice to be a really good QB. I know everyone knocks him because of his height, but again, he didn't play. LeMason Waller, wide receiver. He was redshirting this year. He got a little bit banged up in fall camp. Ignacio Tupo, inside offensive lineman, didn't play. Tucker Kelleher, redshirted this year. Sonny Tuala, I was bullish on him coming from the JUCO ranks. I mean, I was hearing some Ziggy Ansah comparisons in terms of the athleticism, but it just didn't click, and he didn't play much. And he goes into the portal. Sione Hingano, signed in 2021, still has 3 years of eligibility remaining. The uniqueness of BYU recruiting sometimes. And then Tavion Beasley, who you mentioned, and he signed with South Florida, the Bulls, today. But that's it. And then so all the guys that we mentioned that are running it back had those announcements. And then you also pair it up, too, with a strong grouping of redshirt freshmen, incoming freshmen, one of the highest-rated recruiting classes in program history, maybe the highest-rated. It's a top 25 class. This is a very talented team. I mean, there's some guys that could go deep in the weeds, like a defensive tackle and Alvin Puifua. No one's talking about him. Former Hawaii transfer last year, redshirted this season. He's going to be awesome. He's going to be really good. Remember the name. But, you've got that paired up with this retention. BYU is going to be really good next season. And what's exciting, too, is you've got the glitzy, glamorous spots tied up. And I bring that up because the media will go in July and say, all right, let's put my AP poll together. Returning quarterback, check. Returning running back, who's the offensive player of the year, check. Pretty good offensive line with a first-team center, check. Pretty good defense. They retained a DC. Yeah, let's put them in the top 12. Okay. Oh, so suddenly now BYU is good? I think that will happen. So BYU is going to have a lot of expectations next year, and I'm excited for it.
You think about that, Mitch. Had Jake Retzlaff been the starting quarterback in 2025 going into the season, BYU would have been a top 15 program probably going into the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't
next year?
No. I'm just saying from last year's perspective, had Jake been there still, they would have been a top 15 preseason team.
It's a good point. I mean, really, if it was Retzlaff, last year, you're probably in the playoff because your starting position would have been much better.
And that's where the preseason.
It's so dumb to say it that way, too,
for sure,
because this team was so much better.
But the preseason polls, and we talked about this all throughout the year, it's just been such a bad way to look at the way that teams are set up for success or failure throughout the season. But yeah, BYU is locked and loaded and ready to go, and they have so much talent returning. It's going to be really exciting to see. We're going to take a quick timeout. On the other side, we're going to get to some end-of-season awards, some of the guys that we think stood out on this team. You're listening to Cougar Sports Saturday, powered by KSL Sports.